Hi, I'm Bianca from Vintage on Tap. So today I'm actually going to be showing you guys a sewing machine that I just found at a thrift store yesterday, a couple blocks from me. I've been looking for a vintage sewing machine for a little while, so when I actually saw this unassuming box, I knew exactly what it was when I saw the hinges on the side. So this is actually a sewing machine from the 60s, and the colors on it are fantastic. This serves as a really great table, and it's got like these really old school kind of like ruler markings. Now the thing with this machine is that it is super heavy, so that's one of the nice things about the vintage sewing machines, is that they're so heavy that they don't rattle when you sew. Now the machine that I got is a Brother 651, and it's a robin's egg blue, like two-tone color. This one, from a lot of the research that I found online about it, was made in Japan, either in the late 60s, early 70s. This one in particular has been beat up a lot, so it's actually missing a few things too. So it's missing out the cover plate, and it's also definitely needs a belt on there. Now it does run, but it needs a full cleaning. So because this is my first vintage machine, it'll be a huge learning experience for me to research everything that needs to be cleaned, research how to take it apart, and do all the maintenance I can do before I take it into a more professional, just to make sure that the timing is correct and everything matches up correctly. Underneath this particular machine, there are some additional parts, including the pedal, which for some reason the previous owner attached here. I haven't figured out how to take that down yet, but once I figure it out, I'll let you guys know. So right before I bought this machine, I had an opportunity to plug it in at the thrift store just to make sure that it runs. It does run. It's actually very fast and very quiet. The only problem is that I can't figure out how to make it turn off, which when I was doing research online about it, apparently there's no on and off switch. When it's plugged in, it's on, but there's obviously a problem with the pedal if it's automatically going when I turn it into the power. So I'm gonna go ahead and plug it in so you guys can kind of check out how it runs. It's really fast, so I'm gonna go ahead and plug it in. So even just in that, there's like little bits and pieces of thread popping out of it, so it definitely runs, but there's ooh, and it smells a little bit now too. So there's a bunch of cleaning that I have to do on this, and a lot of oiling. Probably have to change out the presser feet, well, not the presser feet, but the feed dogs, and clean up that entire area. But it has potential. Definitely has potential. I think that's probably, in me plugging it in right now, is probably the longest that it's been plugged in a very long time. So it smells a lot, but it just smells like old oil and like old little bits and pieces of lint. So there'll definitely be a lot of cleaning in my future. Hey everyone, so last we left off, I was looking at a very gross sewing machine. It's still not where I would ideally want a machine to be, but I did my best cleaning it up, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the process that I took to take care of this machine. So the first thing that I did was, of course, buy myself a pair of gloves and a face mask, which I definitely recommend, especially if you have a really filthy machine like I did. It'll absolutely help with all the fumes of some of the products that you're going to use to clean it up. So the first thing I did was actually scrub the outside with a few different brushes actually. So it was a combination of a bunch of like really cheap painter's brush just to get a lot of the dirt off of there. And then once I kind of got the majority of the loose stuff that I could with these guys, I got like a little bucket of water with a little bit of dish soap, and then scrub.
with the toothbrush. Now the only thing is just make sure not to get water like sloshed everywhere, so I would only do kind of like a few inches at a time. Scrub, 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 wipe it off, make sure it's dry before I'm moving over to the next part. Actually, that was the number one thing that helped clean the majority of the machine, at least the exterior. And so once I got all of that done, then I started focusing on what it is that I could take apart safely, and at least kind of try and see if I could figure out how this machine worked, just because there's not very many bells and whistles on this one. And I'll actually talk about some of the things that it can do a little bit later on. So tools that I used to actually start cleaning the inside were a can of blow-off dusters, to kind of the ones they use for the keyboards and stuff, that actually help get a lot of the main fluffy stuff off of there. This one I read a lot of reviews about, saying, or like some of the research that I saw online said not to use this too much, just because it would further lodge in a lot of lint. So I use it pretty sparingly, and I actually have the straw somewhere to kind of make sure that I wasn't blowing it further into the machine, someplace where I couldn't get to. The next thing that I used to clean everything up was these tools here. So the first one is a Triflow, which is actually a lot of the stuff that I read about this was saying that it was mainly used for bicycles, or for like screws that are really tight and can't really be undone. So I actually only used that here on the bobbin winder, because it actually was not spinning all the way. Like, it would kind of get stuck. It's still a little bit sticky, but it's definitely nowhere near it was where it was before, where it actually kind of get lodged. So this definitely helped a lot. And then WD-40 and cotton twine, so to speak. Now, the thing with this guy, I heard both a lot of praise and a lot of anger towards WD-40 when it comes to cleaning sewing machines, so I did a lot of research on it. There are some people who apparently swear by it, and there's some people who say it's the devil when it comes to cleaning sewing machines. The reason that some people don't like it is because it's not actually a lubricant necessarily, and apparently it leaves a sort of residue over time if you leave it on whatever it is that you spray it on. So so that was the main reason a lot of people don't like it. Now, the other reason that people do like it is it does actually clean really well, and apparently it does have kerosene in it, which I could only find in one spot, and it was in a big giant gallon jug, which is what people told me that I should use to clean it, but I wasn't about to buy a gallon jug of kerosene when this would suffice, as long as I made sure to be careful with it. So what I would do is, especially when I would start getting into the gears inside, is spray a little bit of WD-40 on the twine, clean that up, and kind of run it through the different pieces, and get rid of the dirty twine, and then cut off a clean piece of twine and clean it instead, to kind of get off any residue that was here until it was dry, and then I went ahead and moved on to the next part. So I definitely don't regret using this, at least not now, but we'll get to the next step. Cool, so once I cleaned up the inside, it was actually kind of nice to be able to learn what the different settings were. I found out that my machine does a zigzag stitch, that it can actually do some darning as well, and then I have a lot of control over the tension and the stitch length. So at that point, I moved on to the sewing machine oil that I actually bought for one of my other machines. And there's actually some really cool kind of easy mark guides along the top, which are just little holes where you can drip the sewing machine oil onto to help. But since I had the whole thing taken apart, I just kind of turned the machine, and wherever there was anything that was moving, I went ahead and oiled it. After I cleaned it, after I oiled it, it runs so beautifully. It could definitely make stitches by hand if I needed to. Last but not least, I went ahead and used some metal polish, and this one actually smells like lavender, which is pretty cool. But I took apart everything that I could polish and cleaned it up, and this stuff helped remove the rust off the different pieces. and cleaned up really nicely. So I definitely really recommend this. This is Moss Metal Polish. Cool. So at this point, I'm kind of in a pickle because I attempted to clean up this guy, and I think I put it back together incorrectly. So I'm just gonna bite the bullet and pay for my sewing machine place nearby to take care of it, because I do not want to electrocute myself, because when I tried to plug it in last, it started smoking really bad and sparks were coming out of it. So I'd much rather just pay the money and have someone who knows what they're doing take care of it, because yeah, there's something rattling in here now, and I don't think it's supposed to do that. So while I take the rest of the stuff in for repairs, I actually also put in an order online for the different pieces that I am missing on this machine, which includes a new belt because this one has a bunch of cracks in it. And then I have a few pieces here randomly from both the inside as well as the bobbin case that need to be replaced, this, and then the plate here on the top. So hopefully that order comes in soon. Hopefully it gets here before I take it in for repairs. But once I get those pieces, it's going in the shop, and then I'll be taking care of the table. So I'm looking forward to making this not look like it's been beat up. Hey guys, so where we last left off was I had just put in my order for things that were needing to be replaced on this machine. So I actually ordered from sewingpartsonline.com. They're not a sponsor, but I actually was really confused and lost for the majority of my looking for parts for my machine. Didn't know if websites were reputable, didn't know if they would have even what I needed. So this place is backed by Google, so I figured might as well. I put in the order on a Wednesday and got my things, no, I put in the order on a Thursday and got my things on a Wednesday. So 5 business days. Cool, so what I ordered was actually a new bobbin case for my machine. So this bobbin case I've already tried to put on there, and it does fit, as well as the correct size bobbins. The one that came with the machine, the bobbin case was rusty, and then the single bobbin that it had was sitting on top and super rusty as well. So I figured might as well just order some new ones. Luckily I ordered the right size and it does fit. The next thing that I ordered was actually a new plate, which definitely fits. It has everything where it needs to be. The problem is though, is that once I put it on the part that's where it needs to be placed, it sticks up, and the little feet underneath, the feed dogs, don't pop out, which is kind of important. Like your fabric needs to be able to be fed over this plate. However, what I have noticed is that it just seems like the feed dogs are way too low. So it might actually be a problem with the feed dogs, not necessarily this guy, because this does not stick up further than the slide plate on the top. It's not much more anyway, and the feed dogs should definitely still be popping up. So I may actually have to get the feed dogs replaced as well now. Cool, so the next thing that I ordered was I guess I should probably look up what this thing is called. It's called a bobbin winder tire, which I guess maybe one size fits all, but regardless, it fit, thankfully. I didn't even know how to search for it, like if there would be different sizes, but this definitely fits. I put it on there when I got the order, and it definitely fits on there comfortably. It just like rolls on, versus the one that was on here previously that broke, that seemed like had been on there for way too long. And then the last guy that I ordered was the belt. This I actually have not tried because I have not put the motor back on there yet. So I think before I take this in, which I'm actually about to do here today, I'm gonna at least try and put this guy on. So hopefully my sewing machine repair shop does not try and charge me for additional parts. And yeah, I mean, hopefully by this time next week I should get this machine back.
Hey everyone, so I just got back from the local hardware store where I picked up a bunch of the stuff that I'm going to need to be able to refinish this table. As you can see on this table, it's got a lot of dings, it's got a lot of scratches, it's missing little pieces of the stain on there. So what I decided to do is I'm going to be sanding down the whole thing with lots of sandpaper. I'll be putting a wood conditioner on here. I'm going to be staining it and then coating it with this semi-gloss finish at the end. I anticipate this project is going to take about a full day on and off between drying times. I do have to do it inside my kitchen because I don't really have outdoor space, so I'm like flinging open all the windows just to be able to get this started. But I'm actually really excited because I was able to pick up my sewing machine from the repair shop, so I can't wait to really test it out once this is set up. This is literally the last step in trying to get it operational 100%. So I'm really excited to get started. Hey everyone, so I can confidently say that my machine is 100% operational. It's been about 1 month since the day that I purchased it to today in terms of getting it completely started and set up. So the last step that we talked about was staining the table. It took about a day and a half between sanding it and doing all the steps that I talked about previously. It dried really well. It definitely gave it this really beautiful color. For my first time trying to stain a table, there was definitely a huge learning curve and it's nowhere near perfect, but for my purposes and for what I was trying to do, it came out really great. So I'm gonna go ahead and take out the machine since we put the machine back in here after I got it from the repair shop. So I'm gonna go ahead and open it up. And happily, when I put on the stain on here, it covered up a lot of the dings, a lot of the missing wood chips and stuff. So it kind of really does look a lot better. So I took the machine in, and when they took a look at it, the first thing that the sewing machine repair shop said was it was a tank. So I'll actually put the link at the bottom in the description as to where I went if you guys are in the San Francisco area and want to check it out. Really good service. I've gone there a bunch of times. They really take care of you. But anyway, so they switched out the belt. They added a couple things here and there, gave me a new presser foot, and it hums. So I cannot wait to show you guys once I plug this in so you guys can kind of see how it looks. So I actually haven't gotten a chance to sew on it yet. I've gone ahead and just done a few lines just to kind of see what it looks like. And oh, it's pretty quiet. The way that this one gets threaded is kind of like a industrial machine, like a modern industrial machine, which I've sewn on before, but it definitely has been a while. So I actually had to relearn how to thread the machine properly. And even now, yeah, it looks about right. It's been so long. I think it's probably been a couple years since I had last sewn with an industrial machine. So yeah, I mean, even something like the needle being turned 90 degrees. Ooh, I'm gonna get it in the little. So, luckily I ordered the right bobbin piece from sewing machine store online. So, yeah, I'm ready to start sewing with it. So I actually have not had the opportunity to test out this machine with it being on the cabinet. So you guys will get to experience with that, what that is with me. It's not too loud, I don't think, but I'm sure the mic will pick it up in a second here. So I've gone ahead, plugged everything in. I also found out that there's no actual on and off switch on the machine. If it is plugged in, it is on. So here we go. All right, that's at the 1. Let's pop it up. From start to finish on this machine, I spent roughly $250 between purchasing the machine, taking it in for the repairs, buying everything I needed to clean it, as well as ordering parts that were missing from it. Would I spend the money again? Absolutely. This is probably the most powerful machine that I've owned, and I've been sewing for about 15 years. Also, I've learned quite a lot of different things about how a machine works just by going through the steps of taking it apart, cleaning out the inside. I definitely feel a lot more confident if I ever have to fix it, or if there's anything wrong with it, I can at least try and troubleshoot it. Regardless, I'm really happy. If you do ever have the opportunity to buy a vintage machine that looks like you could really fix up and get it to work for you, I definitely recommend it. And I hope you liked this video and found it super informative. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and leave me a comment or any questions that you might have. If you are buying a vintage machine for yourself and you're thinking about going through the process of cleaning it up, I'd definitely love to hear all about it. Thanks.